Liv Morgan has revealed shocking details about the painful injury she suffered just days before stepping into one of the biggest matches of her entire career at WrestleMania 42. While fans watching WWE television saw the intense rivalry between Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer grow more violent with every passing week, very few realized just how serious things became behind the scenes before the Women's World Championship match finally took place. What looked like a chaotic segment on Raw turned into a genuine injury scare that could have completely changed the road to WrestleMania for both Morgan and fellow Judgment Day member Roxanne Perez. Leading into WrestleMania 42, Liv Morgan was carrying enormous momentum. After winning the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble match, she earned the opportunity to challenge Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship on the grandest stage in sports entertainment. The rivalry between the two quickly became one of the hottest stories in WWE, with every confrontation becoming more personal, more aggressive, and more unpredictable. Fans watched as both women constantly attacked each other, brawled backstage, and pushed the limits physically week after week. The tension between them reached a level where it genuinely felt like neither woman cared about the consequences anymore. But everything took a dangerous turn during a backstage segment involving Morgan and Roxanne Perez inside the Judgment Day clubhouse. The segment itself was supposed to continue the ongoing tension between Morgan and Vaquer, but what happened next was far more real than anyone expected. Morgan later explained that she was in the middle of a meeting with Roxanne Perez, whom she described almost like a protege within the Judgment Day. The clubhouse was presented as a private space, somewhere only trusted members of the faction were allowed to enter. That detail added even more intensity when Stephanie Vaquer suddenly appeared and interrupted the conversation. According to Morgan, Vaquer shoved her from behind as part of the segment, continuing the pattern of surprise attacks that had defined their feud. However, the impact was much harder than intended. Morgan was sent crashing directly into Roxanne Perez, and the collision between the two women was brutal. Their heads smashed together with significant force, immediately creating concern backstage. While WWE storylines often blur the lines between fiction and reality, this was a genuine accident that instantly changed the mood surrounding the segment. Morgan later described the aftermath in detail, revealing that she suffered a major hematoma on her head. The swelling became extremely noticeable, and the injury caused blood to drain down into her face, leaving her with 2 black eyes just days before WrestleMania. The visual damage alone was shocking, but what made the situation even more incredible was the fact that she still went out and competed on WWE's biggest stage despite the injury. The image of Liv Morgan walking into WrestleMania with visible damage, severe swelling, and bruising around her eyes adds another layer to her reputation as one of WWE's toughest performers. In professional wrestling, performers constantly deal with pain and injuries, but continuing forward under those circumstances on the biggest night of the year takes a different level of determination. Morgan herself seemed to embrace the chaos of the moment, even calling the entire situation iconic after the fact. What makes this story even more dramatic is the uncertainty that followed the accident. For a brief period, there were legitimate concerns about whether Morgan or Roxanne Perez would be medically cleared in time for their scheduled appearances. Head injuries are always treated seriously in WWE, especially when visible trauma is involved. Fans online immediately began speculating about possible changes to WrestleMania plans, wondering if the Women's World Championship match could be postponed or altered at the last minute. Fortunately, both women ultimately escaped more serious long-term damage. Roxanne Perez recovered safely, and Morgan managed to push through the pain to compete at WrestleMania 42. Not only did she compete, but she defeated Stephanie Vaquer to become the new Women's World Champion, making the victory even more unforgettable considering the physical condition she was dealing with at the time. That championship victory represented a defining moment in Liv Morgan's career. For years, fans had watched her evolve from an underdog trying to find her place into one of WWE's top stars. Her rise wasn't always smooth. She faced setbacks, betrayals, injuries, and periods where many questioned whether WWE truly viewed her as a top-level talent. But through persistence, charisma, and her connection with the audience, she slowly built herself into a legitimate main event star. Winning the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania, while injured, only strengthened that perception. It transformed her victory from just another title change into a story about resilience and determination. Fans love moments where performers overcome adversity, and Morgan's situation felt authentic because the pain and damage were clearly real. It added emotional weight to the entire match and made her eventual triumph feel even more meaningful. At the same time, the rivalry with Stephanie Vaquer helped elevate both women significantly. Vaquer entered the feud with a reputation for intensity and aggression, and throughout the build-up, she consistently pushed Morgan to her limits. Their confrontations became increasingly physical, creating the sense that this wasn't just about a championship anymore. It was about pride, revenge, and proving superiority. By the time WrestleMania arrived, the feud had developed into one of the most emotionally charged rivalries in the women's division. Morgan's comments after the injury also highlighted her natural confidence and ability to turn difficult situations into memorable moments. Rather than focusing only on the negative aspects of the accident, she leaned into the story, almost wearing the injury as a badge of honor. That attitude reflects why fans connect with her so strongly. She has the ability to make herself feel relatable while still carrying the larger-than-life energy required to be a WWE superstar. Another major detail surrounding her WrestleMania appearance was her entrance. Despite all the injury concerns and backstage chaos, Morgan still managed to make a huge impression with a brand-new entrance song during the event. WrestleMania entrances are a massive part of WWE presentation, often becoming iconic moments remembered for years, and Morgan clearly wanted to make sure her appearance felt special despite the circumstances surrounding her health. Interestingly, Morgan has also spoken openly in recent months about not necessarily wanting to pursue a traditional Hollywood acting career. While many WWE stars eventually look toward movies and television as the next stage of their careers, Morgan appears more focused on fully embracing her identity within WWE itself. However, her natural charisma, emotional delivery, and growing confidence on camera continue to show why many believe she could easily transition into entertainment outside wrestling if she ever chose to. For now, though, her focus remains firmly on WWE and her reign as Women's World Champion. After everything she endured leading into WrestleMania 42, the pressure will only increase moving forward. Champions in WWE are constantly targeted, constantly challenged, and constantly forced to prove themselves again and again. Morgan now finds herself in the strongest position of her career, but also under the brightest spotlight she has ever experienced. The injury story itself may become one of those legendary WWE moments that fans remember for years. Wrestling history is filled with stories of performers competing through pain, battling injuries, and refusing to let setbacks stop them from delivering on the biggest stage possible. Liv Morgan now has her own version of that story, one that reinforces her toughness and dedication to the business. As WWE continues moving forward after WrestleMania 42, fans will undoubtedly continue watching Morgan closely. Her title reign, her connection with the Judgment Day, her partnership with Dominic Mysterio, and the lingering tension from her feud with Stephanie Vaquer all create endless possibilities for future storylines. But no matter what comes next, the image of Liv Morgan walking into WrestleMania with a giant hematoma and black eyes before capturing championship gold has already become one of the defining visuals of her career. And in many ways, that moment perfectly captures who Liv Morgan has become in WWE. She's unpredictable, emotional, fearless, and willing to fight through anything to prove she belongs at the top. Whether fans love her, hate her, or simply admire her resilience, there's no denying that she has become one of the most talked about stars in WWE today.